I was left for dead. That's how my journey in entrepreneurship started. I left the corporate world and my finance and MBA degrees behind me to share my story. Welcome to That Entrepreneur Show, where resilience meets hustle. Let's build and learn from our guest now.
Don't give away equity unless you really desperately have to. Try to do it yourself. The second thing is,
welcome back to That Entrepreneur Show. We're back with another live stream today. If you've been following along on LinkedIn, this is the show where we dive into the minds of those building the future. And today we're bringing on a powerhouse guest. He's a true architect of business who's not only built, but he's scaled, transformed companies across multiple industries. He's here to share his hard-won wisdom with you. And get ready. We're about to unlock some strategies for goals, innovation, growth, everything in between. Welcome to That Entrepreneur Show, even though he's got the Brady jersey behind him.
Thanks, Vincent. It's good to be here. Thank you so much.
I'm excited to dive into your journey. I've got your information sheet here pulled up. We're bringing on the CEO of 30 Capital, a firm that empowers businesses with data-driven solutions, along with financial services and cutting-edge real estate technology. We're going to touch on the mindset of a successful entrepreneur, leveraging technology and data in business growth, what's next for commercial real estate, proptech, and everything in between. So buckle up for another great show here on That Entrepreneur Show. Thank you for tuning in to keep this show a top 2.5% global show. I absolutely love connecting with new entrepreneurs each week to bring you stories from them in the trenches, because there's no textbook or blueprint for entrepreneurship. And today's show is brought to you by the EmpathySet.com. They have an empathy set for all of us entrepreneurs out here trying to stay level-headed. He also has an app in the App Store. That's John Ford. And Coming Alive Podcast Production.com to get your podcast journey started today. But it's back to you, my friend. Let's go back in time. Why did you want to become an entrepreneur?
I actually grew up in the business of entrepreneurs, right? So my family, my grandfather was an entrepreneur. My dad was an entrepreneur. And so, quite frankly, I struggled working for people. So I became an entrepreneur. I don't think I ever set out like I wanted to be an entrepreneur. Like you hear people like, oh, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. And actually, I wanted to go on Wall Street. I wanted to be an investment banker. I wanted to be like international mergers and acquisitions, like really cool stuff. And I did it for a little bit. And I'm like, boy, I have a tough time working for people. And the idea of a business came up. I said, what the hell? Why not? Let's just do it. And that's what started it. I think the interesting thing, if I look back at that, I think I was either too dumb or naive to really know what I was doing, right? I was leveraged my family and my house, everything that I had. I mean, anything for a buck. I was doing that to try to build this business. Unfortunately, it worked out, but there's always ups and downs. The mental gyrations of an entrepreneur is like no other.
Let's dive right into that. The mindset of a successful entrepreneur, being okay with taking 99.9 out of 100 no's if you're doing the sales route, all of these things. What's your take?
So there's a difference between an entrepreneur and a wantrepreneur. As I've grown my businesses and I've sold them, I've actually started a venture side of my business through 30 Capital Ventures. And we invest in startups, primarily in the proptech space. And it's interesting. One of the things that I always look for when we make an investment is the person who's starting the business, do they have a substantial at risk? I got this term sheet one time from this guy, came from the banks. So of course he expected it to be like that. And he said, well, he's like, I'm expecting this money, this, and this. And I'm expecting the normal accoutrements of a CEO. I was like, what the F? What? The normal accoutrements of a CEO for a startup? I'm like, what do you think this business is? Like, do you understand? Like, I washed tables. I cleaned toilets, anything I could to survive, to make my business. And here you want the normal accoutrements of a CEO? And that's like an immediate no, right? So the mindset of an entrepreneur is somebody who's willing to do everything and anything. Lose your ego at the door and do what it takes to be successful. That's hard work. And it's getting pushed down, built up, pushed down again, build up, find them. Like every day you have to end with that. Well, that was good. At least I was able to pay for stamps today, right? And keep on going.
I absolutely love the humbleness and the truth of what it's like in the early stages of his entrepreneurship. I too went to hospitality. I was an MBA graduate, now finding myself bussing tables as a busboy, working myself up. I was in a fine dining restaurant. I said, where can I make the most in the shortest amount of time? And it's not easy carrying those trays around with the heavy plates and getting, for me at least, I got snapped at by a customer once and I thought, holy smokes. And I did a double take. I said, man, she said, yeah, I got a seed from my lemon in my water. Can you give me a net? So I said, yeah, sure. And I didn't even think we had one, but we did. It's a good reminder how to not treat people if you want to work in hospitality. But I think that everyone before high school should have to do an internship or something in a restaurant, not only for teamwork and leadership, but for all those experiences. Would you agree?
Yeah, yeah, oh, absolutely. I actually worked in the back of the house at a restaurant. I had the job they called LSD, lobsters, steamers, and dishes. And it also should have been LSD plus T because you had to do the trash too. I worked up in New England. I worked at one of these seafood restaurants, sort of almost like not really fast food, but it was the kind where all the tour buses would come in and you'd have to feed people from not in that region, feed them lobsters and all that stuff. Well, everything you had was either fried or had coleslaw or like all the mayonnaise. And so that was my job. But yes, you get very humbled very quickly on working in the food service. But, it's the same thing as running a business. I mean, you still have to be humble no matter where you are in the life cycle of your business. I mean, I still go do conferences. I'll still work the booth. I love working the booth. It is somewhat humbling, right? You get there and people are like, that's a stupid business, or, somebody else already does that and they do it much better. Or I would never use you. And you have to sort of learn to deal with that, but that's okay.
And one ear out the other sometimes. And I'm always grateful for different perspectives because what sounds good to me may sound terrible to everyone else, but you have to take it with a grain of salt. Who is giving you this advice? And it's similar to asking friends and family, hey, how does this look? It looks good. It looks good. Well, what do you mean? We need someone who's going to give us some pushback. So I absolutely love everything you read there. But now that we touched on that, you've got so many areas of expertise, so I've got to dive right into it. How do you leverage technology and data in your business growth?
Leverage is not just technology, but it's also doing things and getting people that are going to help you exponentially grow and do the things that are more powerful. I think as an entrepreneur, and I do a lot of coaching and mentoring, and one of the things I try to get people to do is the biggest thing of leverage is leveraging their time. I think a lot of entrepreneurs, you're stuck with this large scale of like all the stuff that you have to do, but yet do you really prioritize on what makes a key difference to your business? And so I encourage entrepreneurs to actually, and if you look at my calendar, I color code my calendar. And if I don't see it, I green is my high powered stuff. Like this is the stuff that really matters. And if that's not 60% of my schedule during the day, I'm doing something wrong. So leveraging your time is the number one. But with technology, AI obviously is a no-brainer, right? I mean, if you're not using AI and really understanding it, you are absolutely, and I know everybody's saying that, so, blah, blah, blah. But I can tell you from content creation to scheduling, to logos, to business plans, to proposals, to everything in between, explain this to me. Right. As an entrepreneur, you've got to scale your time too. Right. So it's, hey, explain this thing to me as I'm a 5-year-old. Right. It's, I just got this document, this contract. Explain it to me so I can understand it. So those are things in technology. The other thing that I really focus on and I really try to stress to the people I mentor is KPIs. Basically, the concept of OKRs and KPIs, objectives and key results. Right. This is level set game planning. Right? This is where you want to be. This is how you're going to do it. And in order to do it, this is what's going to happen. So we are very focused on KPIs and holding everybody accountable. Everybody in the organization should have their own KPI and you should measure it and you should let it be front out and center of everybody.
And it's important to know which KPIs to track as well. I give big shout out just in a startup program 2 years ago now where I finally got everything put together where I wasn't really tracking much. Now, of course, tracking closings is a great KPI that can be across all industries. But what are some industry-specific KPIs that you track that maybe can inspire our audience to think outside the box?
Well, I think you have to look at things along the dynamic of your business, right? So one, you got to get stuff in, right? So what's the most important thing? Getting leads and getting people in sales. So top of funnel. So I measure how effective are my marketing campaigns? What kind of leads do I have coming in? The leads, how do they go through that funnel? My sales, how good is my sales team? How good, or if I don't have a sales team, how good am I in selling and converting? Then you go into customer service. How good am I with my customers? How likely are my customers going to extend? Are they going to refer me? Are they going to be promoters or detractors? So those are things along the way. And then obviously the financial metrics. Am I profitable, right? Most important. Am I making money? Can I sustain this stuff? And once you get those basic KPIs, it's always iterating and it's always sort of level setting. And it's hard to do because they do change your strategies. And any entrepreneur will tell you who's been doing this for a while, you could have the best game plan going into it and it will change within a day or two. It's a very hard thing. It was interesting. I had sold my first two businesses to a large private equity firm. And they said, you know what, Rob, we don't want to buy your businesses anymore. We want to be an investor in the startup side because we know you're going to start up a couple more businesses. And so they wanted to be part of this startup. So I'm like, okay, but you understand, guys, when you buy like your mid-markets private equity firms, you buy companies that are existing and they've already gone through the growing pains and you put money to make them more efficient and that kind of stuff. Very different life cycle of a business than a startup. They struggled and we struggled. It was probably one of the hardest sort of startups ever I've had. They're like, well, wait a second. You said you were going to do this yesterday and now you're going to do this. I'm like, well, yes, because I'm talking to customers. I need to iterate the product. I need to iterate my pitch. For those of you who are listening out there, the key point is, one, obviously pick your partners right. But two, once you do that, make sure you understand it's fluid. A startup and being an entrepreneur is fluid and they continue all the way to the end.
Absolutely love it. And it's constant work in progress, learning what you could do better each and every day. Now, we talked about what led you here, some great advice. Let's talk more about your current business. Who is your target customer? Who can you serve the best?
So we at 30 Capital, the company is Defease with Ease 30 Capital, and our primary market is mid-market commercial real estate firms. So these are the ones that, and we call them syndicators and owner-operators. There's a lot of terms for them, but basically these are organizations that go out and own the apartment building down the street or the office building or the hotel. These are the organizations that own the real estate in our country, most of it, right? Obviously, in the big cities, you have these big institutions, but mid-America, depending on where you are, that shopping center down the street, that office building, that's who we go after. We serve them with a suite of products that range from service to tech-enabled service to full software solutions and everything in between, because quite frankly, in our space, in our audience, you have to be able to provide a lot to the people because depending on where they are in their technology life or what they need. And so we provide a full range of services that support them to make them more efficient, to make them more profitable. And that's our biggest business is helping commercial real estate owners make money faster. That's it.
Well, you just said commercial real estate. And I did tease in the beginning of the show that we were going to come back to this. What's next for commercial real estate? PropTech. You read my mind there, so thank you for that. We didn't forget about you, audience. We made time for it. Let's talk about it.
There's always a slow adoption in commercial real estate, right? And I think that's always been our history, right? People have done deals the way they've done it before, and it's all about relationships. And commercial real estate is a real relationship business. But bear in mind the use of technology, and I think it starts out in things like data and analytics, visualization of data, resident monetization, understanding who your customer is. And so there's a lot of these factors that come up. And I think what we're starting to see now, actually, the big thing in commercial real estate is that these real estate companies are starting to act more like technology companies than the old school commercial real estate. They now have people they have data and analytics people. They have people who know their customer, right? They're always focused on who is our customer, and their customer isn't just a tenant. It could be a banker. It could be a worker. It's all of these people. So they're starting to develop this mindset of being more data-centric, data-focused, and driving decisions through data and analytics.
And that seems like a big shift from the traditional commercial real estate game maybe 10 years ago as technology continues to evolve and everything in between. What would you say Before, of course, everyone knows my favorite last question, which entrepreneur you're going to sit down with, dead or alive. What's one piece of advice you can give to any early stage founder right now who heard all of the success you achieved throughout this episode, but something maybe you wish you knew back then when you started your first company that you can push forward today?
So I think it comes down to what stage you are in the game. I think a lot of people come out and think of the end result, right? A lot of people, they're starting money, they're raising money. So I think some of the biggest things I would probably say is, one, don't give away equity unless you really desperately have to. Mm-hmm. Try to do it yourself. The second thing is, do not underestimate. When I sold my first business, it was everything. It defined me, right? It was my whole life. It was everything I put into it. It was my heart, my blood, my sweat, everything was this business. And I sold it and I walked away the next day and I was like, who am I? So, so I think from your entrepreneur people, it's understanding where are you on the road, right? So if you're in the beginning stages, hold on to that equity, my friend. It's valuable. Don't just give it away. Don't think you need partners because that's what people do. Drive, have conviction, listen to people. Don't be stupid, but listen to people, but have conviction in what you're doing, and don't feel like you need masses and partners to be successful and to make your business.
And I love that advice. And of course, patience is the name of the game in entrepreneurship, and no one wants to do it, but I've been tempted many times as well. And who knows, maybe for exit strategies, but great advice there. And now, before we get the contact info that everyone has been waiting for, the website, everything there, which entrepreneur, dead or alive, would you choose to sit down with to pick their brain and learn a little bit from Rob?
Maybe not the most popular choice right now, depending on which your political leaning is. But I think Elon Musk is one of these people that where his brain goes, right, and how he develops and the way he thinks, right. It's there is a point where like him or dislike him, and that's not this is not about political leaning. Yeah, this is truly about a person who's like, hey, I'm going to start a rocket company. Like, who the hell does that, right? I'm going to start a solar company. I'm going to start a company that's going to drill borings under like. Who does that? Like, I'm like, oh, I want to start a company that helps commercial real estate owners look at data, right? I'm like, oh, right. I'm going to help them do a transaction. This guy's like, I want to go to Mars, right? So it's what is in that psyche that develops that. And is that a early stage? Did you have aspirations? And I think that's the thing. The curse of an entrepreneur is once you start, you cannot stop. And I don't care how successful or how much you failed, you cannot stop. It is an addictive thing. So be careful, entrepreneurs, or if for those of you, once you start, I probably have 15 little businesses going on, everything from creating wood chips through my pig and nut brand to soil amendments to my big businesses. And I'm also writing books. I just completed a book called Hey Dad, Everything You Should Have Learned But Didn't. Right. And it was basically because as an entrepreneur, I spent all of my life focusing on my business. But then I have 4 children that I've raised and had to go through adulthood. And when they started leaving, the questions I started getting asked was things that I'm like, I should have probably taught them that. Maybe instead of spending so much time on my business, maybe I should have spent a little bit of my time on my kids. So it's even though they're older and they're out the door, it was my last ditch effort for everybody out there. It's just a very simple, easy read. I interviewed 30 experts and everything from getting an apartment to AAA to I interviewed a NASCAR race car driver and his crew chief on how to maintain a car. Like how do you look at a car? Everything in between, banking, insurance, stocks, bonds, all of that stuff, just so that a young adult, when they enter this world of independence, is given sort of a very simple handbook on how to do that. So that was sort of the fun thing that I get to do. But those are the fun things that as an entrepreneur, you're never really satisfied. You always want to do more.
Oh my gosh, I don't think we could end on a better note than that, Rob. Thank you so much for taking the time to join that entrepreneur show. Where can our listeners get in touch with your website and get in touch with you?
Yeah. So the best way to get in touch with me is robfinlay.com. That's Rob, R-O-B, Finlay, Finlay.com. You can see all my stuff, all my businesses, all my books, all the other stuff that I fool around and do. So check it out. Come contact me. And thank you, Vince. I think this is a wonderful resource. I wish this existed when I started my business, for sure.
Well, I appreciate the kind words. I've never been the entrepreneur who is the flashy, trying to go viral type of guy. So it was always slow organic growth. But now over the 5 years, we are at the top 2.5%. So people who are trying to learn how to start a business, scale their business, I bring on experts like you who really, you knocked it out of the park today. I can't thank you enough. I know the audience will absolutely love this episode. My name is Vincent A. Lancey, and this is That Entrepreneur Show. Please remember to subscribe for next week's show. You can learn more about us on the internet at thatentrepreneurshow.com. We're brought to you by theempathyset.com, which I had down here a little bit, was just showing some love to his email out there so you can get in touch with him. And, of course, Coming Alive podcastproduction.com. But with that, we are signing off today. An unfortunate Patriots fan and an unfortunate Jets fan right now in the present day football climate. But, Rob, thank you so much again.
Thanks, Vincent. Go Pats.